What is up, guys? We're back with another video, and today we're checking out this motherboard right here, which is the ASRock Z790 Taichi. So let's go ahead and take a look. As we take a first look at the board here, it is a bit of a larger board. This is an extended ATX motherboard, so definitely keep that in mind. Make sure you get a case that will support this board. Now, as far as design, ASRock is going with their sort of black, gold, and kind of silver design that we saw on previous Taichi motherboards. Overall, I think the board looks quite good. Starting with the CPU socket, we have Intel's LGA 1700 socket, which will support both 12th and 13th generation Intel Core processors. Surrounding the CPU socket, we have our power delivery components, and ASRock is making use of a 24+1+2 power phase design that makes use of 105 amp smart power stages. So with 24 phases for the CPU, that's going to give you 2,520 amps of total power. This is more than enough power for the Intel Core i9-13900K. The power delivery components are covered by two very large heat sinks. These heat sinks come together with the rear I/O cover and really bring the top section of the board together. The heatsink closest to the rear I/O actually has a fan embedded inside of it. The rear I/O cover has the gears and clockwork design that we're used to seeing from Taichi motherboards, but we don't have the moving gear like we've seen on previous Intel Taichi motherboards from ASRock. At the top corner of the board, you'll find two 8-pin EPS connectors, and then moving along the top edge of the board, there are two 4-pin fan headers. The first one is for your CPU fan, and the second one can be used for a fan or a pump. It supports up to 3 amps or 36 watts. There are 4 DDR5 DIMM slots on this board, which are metal reinforced. These support up to 128 gigabytes of DDR5 7000 memory. As we come over to the edge of the board, we have two 3-pin addressable RGB headers, your 24-pin ATX power connection, a 6-pin power connection, USB 3.2 Gen 2x2 header, USB 3.2 Gen 1 header, and 8 SATA 6 gig ports. The SATA ports, as well as the USB 3.2 Gen 1 header, are at a 90-degree angle so they don't get in the way of your graphics cards. At the bottom of the board, you'll find the rest of your headers and connections. So from left to right, you have your HD audio headers, a 4-pin standard RGB header, 3-pin addressable RGB header, two 4-pin fan headers, a USB 3.2 Gen 1 header, two USB 2.0 headers, postcode display, two 4-pin fan headers, power reset and clear CMOS buttons, another 4-pin fan header, and your front panel headers. Like most motherboards these days, the bottom half of the board is characterized by heat sinks. Now these go together quite well and have different designs on them. There are 3 heat sinks that can actually be removed, which reveal your 5 M.2 slots. Now the top slot connects directly to your CPU and runs at PCI Express 5.0 X4, while the other slot that's there runs at PCI Express 4.0 X4. Now you can see by their design, you can either install the Gen 5 drive or the Gen 4 drive. You can't install both at the same time. Now, if you populate the Gen 5 drive, your first PCI slot will downgrade to X8 mode. And if you populate your second expansion slot, the M.2 slot there will be disabled completely. The bottom 3 slots are PCI Express 4.0 X4. As far as expansion slots go, you have 2 PCI Express 5.0 X16 slots and a single PCI Express 4.0 X16 slot, which is X4 electrical. Now the top slot will run at X16 speeds with a single card installed, but if you populate the second slot, both will run at X8 speeds. The top 2 slots are metal reinforced. As we come over to the rear I/O, we have an integrated I/O shield, which does have the Taichi logo on it. As far as connections go, you'll find 2 USB 2.0 ports, HDMI, Wi-Fi antennas, your audio connections, 4 USB 3.2 Gen 1 Type A ports, gigabit LAN, 2.5 gig LAN, 2 more USB 3.2 Gen 1 Type A ports, 2 Thunderbolt 4 USB 4 Type-C ports that do support video output, and 2 USB 3.2 Gen 2 Type-A ports. The 2.5 gig LAN port is powered by the Killer E3100G, and Wi-Fi is powered by the Killer AX1675. Flipping the board over, we can see that the back of the board is covered by an aluminum plate, which not only helps with cooling, but adds some stability to the board as well. As far as RGB lighting goes on the board, you have lighting on the rear I/O cover, chipset heatsink, and under the bottom M.2 heatsink. I really like the addition of the lighting under the bottom M.2 heatsink, as typically lighting on the chipset heatsink gets covered by your graphics card. As we come to the end here, we have another very solid motherboard from ASRock, and I think the big thing when it comes to the Z790 platform is you're gonna get PCI Express 5.0 not only on your expansion slots, but also on your storage. So when Gen 5 NVMe drives do become available and are somewhat affordable, you're really gonna future-proof yourself if you are doing a Z790 build. Also, when it comes to Z790, we have, of course, the 13900K, and if you want to do any overclocking with that, you need a very solid VRM, and you have it here in this board. So again, you have 24 phases for the CPU with 105 amp power stages. It's going to give you more than enough power for your CPU if you are overclocking, you know, again, something like a 13900K. On top of that, you also have the active cooling fan in the VRM cooling. So again, if you are doing some extreme overclocking, the fan's gonna kick on and help keep things nice and cool. Now, as far as the feature set that is on this board, I really don't think there's anything that really is missing. Again, you're getting Thunderbolt 4, USB 4, USB 3.2 Gen 2x2, 8 SATA 6 gig ports. You have, you know, again, PCI Express 5.0 storage on here. You have a total of 5 M.2 slots, which are a mix between Gen 4 and Gen 5 there. You have 2.5 gig LAN, you have Wi-Fi 6E. I mean, this board really doesn't lack anything. I think some people may want 10 gig LAN, but again, you're getting 2.5 gig plus the Wi-Fi 6E. So I think for most people, it's not that big of a deal. This board looks awesome in my opinion. I've always been a fan of the Taichi style with the clockwork design and gears and everything like that. The only thing that I would say is missing is that we don't get that gear that actually moves. We saw that on their Z690 and Z590 Taichi boards. Not sure why it's not on this board, but again, I think the board looks great, and ASRock didn't really cut down on their RGB lighting. So a lot of other newer boards that we've seen have like one little strip of RGB. Here we have it in multiple places. And again, I just like that it's there. If you don't want it, you can turn it off, you know, but it's just nice to have it there. And I really like that, you know, we have our RGB lighting on the chipset, but that's really gonna be cut off by your graphics card. So having it down here under the bottom M.2 is awesome. So yeah, guys, I think this is a great board. So if you have any questions about this board, go ahead and leave it in the comment section below. And if you enjoyed this video, I would appreciate it if you hit the thumbs up. We'll see you guys in the next video.